Hello, hello, everyone. Kenyon here, Basketball Rewind. I am here, joined by Coach Roach, beyond the locker room, as usual. I hope all of you are doing well, like on the way out and like on the way in, whichever works for you. And also comment if you like the video as well. All right, we're getting closer and closer to the season. I'm going to just preview the video. First of all, there's a couple things that we're going to talk about. Raptors related. Louis Zatzman wrote a piece, sparked some interest. We're definitely going to talk about the Raptors and their offense moving forward and just some of the decisions that they've made. I think on top of that, there's some WNBA news in the middle that we'll sandwich in. And then we're going to obviously finish off talking about two divisions today. If we don't get to it, and if you are watching this video and it's not posted by then, the division will be middle of the week. So the divisions today are Central and the Northwest Division. Let's get into it. Okay, so Louis, he wrote a piece for Raptors Republic. The piece was interesting as it talked about, I guess, some of the ways that Vision 6-9 has, we've departed from that. And one of the things that was most interesting to me was seeing the fact that I saw it with my own eyes. We talked about it. I think we even talked about it on this channel, but to see someone really dig up and put the numbers right there, sometimes it changes people's opinions. Just, sometimes it's about who's the messenger and how you're saying it. He basically pointed out that we shifted away from post-up. We had a more assist-heavy offense, which is good. But at the same time, the post-up play was still, they were top 10. They were top 10 before in terms of efficiency, but they're top 10 last year in efficiency, even though they basically ran it like not even a third of the time. So that's I found that interesting. I'm wondering, do you think that, just to kick off this, I'll start with you, Beyond. Do you think that this is going to lead to shifts? Because this is a data-driven front office, we'll say.
I don't. Let's put it this way. I don't think it will initially.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be very stubborn on their philosophy. I think we've had this discussion before. I think I might have mentioned it right here on this same channel.
Yeah.
I see things as coaches are two types of coaches. There's the pragmatic coaches, and I call them like the zealots.
Yeah.
I think we have a zealot on our hands. I think he is going to be going right down with the ship on what he thinks his offense is to run.
And sometimes being a zealot's not the worst thing. It depends,
no,
though.
if your system's right. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, Dan Tony won a lot of games, but at some point when it's not working one way, you got to try something different.
I mean, in some ways, well, Nick Nurse was a flexible zealot, but he had certain principles on defense that
True,
he
but
was,
Phil Jackson's a zealot, right?
which is his mentor.
Right, exactly. Phil Jackson in this case here played one way, and once you figured out Phil in a series, you notice that Phil's have a lot of 4 or 5 game series when they lose.
Yes.
Because there's nothing else. Like, no, we just got to do it better. Well, it's now Pat Riley's a pragmatist. Pat Riley's like, I'll play run and gun if I got the guys to play run and gun, or I'm gonna maul you to death and score 75 points and beat you that way. Because
Bud in some ways was a zealot as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant for it's really good for regular season, but when you get into the playoffs, it's like you're slow to shift and
Right.
make
But it's not
decisions.
coincidence. Spoelstra in this case is a Riley disciple. Supposed
Right.
to play any type of style offense you want.
I like that about Riley because even he seems to be more flexible to building his system around his players.
Whatever the strength of the best players are, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And whatever the tendencies
Start with your personnel. And also,
right.
Quinn, as a side note, Quinn Snyder also talked about this. He made certain comments about his Utah stint and also Atlanta, and he was like, in Utah, basically we wanted to play this way. They wanted us to play this way, but I'm like, no. So he found a way to kind of like shift it towards like, this is the best that we can get, but realistically, until you solve this problem, this is how we got to play.
Exactly. Right. So like to me, that's where I think, and this is not just a Raptors issue. This is a bit of a league-wide issue where the data and the numbers and the data just have people locked into that this is the way we must play.
And it's also, it depends on the team, but there's sometimes a push and pull from front office because they'll say, well, they're looking at the numbers and they're also looking at this is a product that people pay for, and we're trying to sell a product
Right,
and a style.
right.
So yeah, sorry, I know I interrupted your point, and then we'll
But
go to coach
I'll
after.
just say one last thing though, is like this is something we saw last year so much. I mean, let's face it, the chain was the most fascinating part of a Raptors win in a lot of ways because it told you exactly what he thought about the game. No matter the
Do you think the chain comes back?
knowing him, I
Oh,
wouldn't
I
be
hope
surprised.
not.
I think
I want the chain to come back. I
I
miss
think
the chain. I might get
I
the chain as a souvenir. You can get the
yeah,
chain as a souvenir, by the way.
I think the chain comes back. I think the chain comes because he's got a younger team than even last year. The chain would probably come back. But I think the chain said so much in this case of what he thought was a proper way of quote winning the right way to use Larry Brown's term, And you sat here and said to yourself, like, okay, if X player in this case did great in this case, but in this way they played a different style, what he didn't like, they weren't getting that chain that night. Didn't matter if that person put 50. They weren't getting.
Sometimes it's if ex players getting traded too.
Well, I'm going down that road. But even when the most fascinating thing was those 3 games after the All-Star break, because Scotty was starting to play in the post more.
Yeah, he
Hmm.
never got the chain.
Right. And well, not only that, I was curious to see how that was going to play out throughout the year.
Yeah,
Can't trade that player, right?
no.
So it was going to get very interesting to see how that plays. Because you know me, I've been shouting for the rooftops. And you get down the post and get like a go-to post move, please, please. And he was starting to develop one. And I thought about this week. I was
Yeah.
thinking about this. He started developing that little turnaround fadeaway. At the end
Well,
of the
he did, and they went away from it, right?
my point.
We talked about it at the beginning of the year because we were talking about it last year, saying that was the move, and we were even seeing him go to it in the Miami Pro Am or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
and we were like, oh, okay, like like of everything that we saw, I was like not really impressed with a lot of the stuff, but I was like, there's something there. And your exact words was, you can feed families off of that if you start building counters from that.
And in that same game, he did up and under off of it. Right? It wasn't
Yes.
the prettiest one, but I was like, okay, I see where you're going, young man.
And
What?
when he gets frustrated with his shot enough after a couple games, he's not Scotty is not stupid. He
No.
will be like, I'm gonna go with what works because I gotta put some points on the board at some point. So he does actually like shift and wane over time depending on if his shot's going.
So to tie it all together, to go back to Eric Kareem's article last year near the end of the season about how guys were pretty much breaking off plays and just doing their own thing because they didn't have faith in the offense. And we know who two or three of those guys were.
Yeah.
They're saying, dude, this ain't working. I just leave it at that. Coach, the floor is yours.
Well, I pretty much agree with what you've said. Um, every coach has a style that they want to implement, how they see basketball. Nick Nurse has his style that's different than Darko's. Eric Spoelstra has a style that's different than JV Bickerstaff, for example. You can only coach the team that you have in front of you, and you have to realize what are the strengths of this team. How are we going to be in transition? How are we going to be in the half court? What's like the profile of the team in terms of what kind of length and size we have? It's a miracle. And I know I was a bit hard on him this last year that he was coaching this team. It's a miracle Nick Nurse had a 500 team that year. A miracle. That team should not even been 500, I don't think.
With that bench, yeah.
With that bench and with a group that could not space the floor, didn't have enough floor spacers at all. It was amazing they were able to put some offense together, but mainly that was because of Pascal Siakam. Call it for what it is.
Hey,
Fred
careful.
was
You
going,
might get yelled at.
yeah, that's fine. But Fred was going 4 of 17. Poeltl
Yeah,
was looking good when he first came in after the trade. Fred made him look really good.
he did. Yeah.
OG had spots where he was doing fine. Scotty, of course, I know that was kind of the year they struggled a bit, but he was doing enough to be productive for the team that
Yeah.
year. And then Darko comes in and he implements his offensive system, which is totally different than Nurse's, quite honestly. I remember Beyond, you were saying he's using Pascal Siakam like Klay Thompson in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can see in the first few games of the year, Pascal's going like 3 of 8.
He wasn't even
He
using him in the corner though, in terms of he wanted him to shoot above the break threes, which
yeah,
made
he was
no
doing
sense because I kept saying, why is he not having him shoot it in the corner? So I remember I'm like, OG should be the one that's shooting above the break, not Pascal.
it,
Because that's where
it
those like Pascal's best. He shoots 40% from the corner. He went to Indiana, shot from the corner, shot 40%.
Actually, he not to break the three either. Actually, he
Yes,
not started creeping up too. Actually,
that well, yeah. Well, as the year went on after the initial stuff, yeah, he started figuring out things like the board, as
yeah.
you would say,
But what
where
what
he
was
started
what was
improving.
what
Mm,
was Siakam's key that he brought to India to the Pacers in the playoffs? It was
leadership.
his post ups
Oh, okay, yeah, got
in the
that too.
playoffs. He wasn't doing that as much in the Raptors because that
Yeah,
wasn't part of the offense until a couple of games where he just said, "Screw this, I'm going to do this myself." Because you guys, take me on, and I think you both had said this. Scotty picked up pretty quickly, like, I'm going to do my own thing now and get my own numbers.
yeah,
well, we used to have a little inside joke amongst ourselves that we always it's like, oh, it's a Pascal game in this case because we know it's like they're on a 3 game losing streak.
yeah,
Pascal going for 35 tonight.
yes, yeah.
Point in case, the pieces did not fit for the last couple of years. They've not fit. They really have not fit since the 2020 season. They just have not. And the whole Vision 6-9 thing, which I thought was disastrous. I get it in theory. I get it how defensively it could work with all the switching and if you have the right length and mobility and athleticism. Offensively, if you're trying to do that with four of those guys who can't shoot beyond 20 feet, can't do that in today's NBA. It's not going to work. And they proved it that it doesn't. Brooklyn tried it after the Ben Simmons trade. After the Harden trade, where
Mm.
they acquired a bunch of guys. It actually worked because they had some shooters. The only guy that couldn't shoot when he actually did play was Simmons. The rest of them
Yeah,
could shoot, so it worked a little bit better.
the
But
challenge
it,
was
I
Simmons was always injured at that point.
yeah, but also at times too, they were playing him some at center,
Yeah.
which was very wise of them to do. But anyways, it's the coach has to implement their system regardless. You got to have the right players to do so.
But
You
let's
can't
go.
have Precious Achua being an offensive hub. That's never been his game ever.
So but for this year, so are you looking, do you think that there's going to be a shift in the philosophy somehow from an offensive standpoint? Because I mean, again, if things like Scotty, for example, is better out of the post, do you think that they shift to that, or do you think that he's still going to have
You just
Poeltl
read,
working on the
yeah.
top of the?
See, this is what you just read my mind because like this is I tell you this franchise is a walking contradiction,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
You
not
said
putting it all on Darko. I'm just saying like the whole thing is I'm trying to figure out.
no, you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
This is the problem, right? Because if Scotty is the be all, the alpha and the omega at this point for this team,
Which he should be this year. Because here's the other thing before you continue on with that. I'll just say this. There I hear it less now, but earlier in the summer there were people that were asking for the Raptors to make a major move, to go get some help. And I'm like, you need to see what Scotty is. And in my mind, the best way to see if he is the guy, you have to go through this year.
yeah, no net,
Hmm?
no net, folks.
There's no
No,
exactly
this is what you
because he's
wanted.
had a lot of help throughout, whether it's the right type of help or whatever. People argue about that in the comments. But what I would say is that you need to see what he could do because, like we talked about it after the All-Star break, he started getting frustrated and started that led to him starting to figure certain things out with his game. He needs an inside game to be able to be the best that he can from mid-range and from outside to be a three-level scorer. He does.
Well,
And
that's the
that's how he
problem.
does it. He has
Like,
the ability, but he needs to go through the trial by fire to see if he could potentially do that.
right. So this is the part that's the irony about this. This is the part that's so funny and the irony about this. We would get screamed at space or get yelled at about, oh, we Scotty haters and this, that, and the next thing, right? And all I'm suggesting, and I think you guys all put words in your mouth, is saying like, yo, build inside out for your game. That is what I'm looking at when it comes to for Scotty Barnes. The
Yeah, because
irony,
the catch and shoots are going to be there.
right. The irony is, you know who else believes that?
Nurse?
Scotty Barnes.
Oh, true.
He, he believes that.
Yeah.
That's what he was working on the summer before. He was working on his post-up game. He believes that because he knows this case here.
He
If
was a little bit, but also in some ways he wasn't. So he was really focused on the shot as well.
the shot was fine, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. But for him to get
Yeah.
his, because this is the part people don't get in this case here. There are certain ways that you get your offense off. He's not getting his offense off when shooting 3-point shots. He is
No.
not. He's getting his offense off in this case from someone else helping him get through his 3-point shot. If
Yeah,
he,
and then no, and just so people know, the numbers suggest that if you look at his percentage of assisted buckets, it's like something like 70 to 90% of his offense is from like, it's assisted buckets, right?
right,
It's not to take away from him as a player, but that is what it is. His offense is being created for him
right,
from other advantages being
right.
created.
You can't be a franchise player. You can't be creating your own shot.
Yeah, and his pull up it shows with his pull up, right?
Right.
His pull up three is like sub, I think it was like 17.5% on the
Right.
year,
The
but
mid
like
range,
his catch and shoots, right? His catch and shoots are good.
right. And the mid range isn't much better for the pull up. So what
No,
I'm suggesting is he knows his deficiencies when it comes because the reason why he's having trouble with that is his handle's not good enough to
yeah,
create the space. So if
I
his handle's
agree.
not good enough, what's the best way for a guy who doesn't have a good handle right now? Get on the block, 1-2 dribbles, make your move. It then limits the dribble, and then you can go to work on what you need to go work on and use your physicality in this case to your advantage. And by the way, that helps you get the free throw line. Another stat he didn't do that great in last year.
Yeah,
For
and to be honest, when he started going inside more, he
the
started doing that. And also in my okay, here's my question to both of you. And I'm gonna start with Coach first. In your mind, what was Scotty's? You don't have to name a specific game, but what is Scotty's best style of game that you saw? Like, what did he do in that game?
this year, I mean this past year,
Yeah, this past year.
I would say whenever he played the Lakers or the Pacers, quite honestly.
Okay, what
Like
did he
he's a
do? What did he do in
well,
that game, though?
in the Lakers game, I always found that he was getting to his spots. That little turnaround fade that Beyond had talked about, he did that very well. He's doing a little bit of everything. It's almost just like he picks his game up on the big stage, and then
Yeah,
maybe it's if it's in like a Charlotte on Tuesday night. Yeah, that's just the consistency that has to build with every player, right?
see,
You can't just take. I'm not saying he's taking games off. I'm just saying he seems to play a bit better when it's the Lakers. Maybe you get more hyped up for it. It's
I also
fine.
find. Oh, well, actually, I'll let Beyond go before.
no, I have the same game in my head, and I think the reason why that game is to Coach's point, and I think the part that really frustrates me with a game like that is he would go in there and he would be going on and taking on LeBron James in the post,
Mhm.
one of the
That's
strongest
yeah.
in the league. And then you'll come out on Tuesday night playing Cleveland, and he's
And he's
got
shooting a whole bunch of threes.
6'3" Donovan
It's
Mitchell.
like a volume 3-point shooter where it's like, okay, why are you shooting 10 threes?
Like so this idea of like, oh, is that? It's like, no, man, that's mindset. That's mindset. That's
Yeah.
what frustrates me with him.
And I think the problem is that people get so caught up with this whole like if it's truly positionless, then like why are we getting caught up if he's a guard or this kind of crap? It's just a waste of time. Honestly. Just
But
straight up,
But
flat
that
out.
but that's why this is the year you don't need to add a Brandon Ingram.
No.
Go time to find out, time to be Mr. Consistency or look to see what he is this year. He had the big improvement from last year, no doubt, and it is worth seeing. Can you be a legit number one option on the team?
And that is the quintessential question. And no one I'll preface this whole season by saying if he does not reach all NBA, right? Because some people are trying to hype that up. Do not be mad, right? This is like you are no matter what happens, whether good or bad or the other, you are gaining data, getting information in terms of who he is as a player and who he will be. And thus, it will also inform how you need to build your team moving forward. Because we're still really early in this.
oh yeah, we're at ground floor, man. But the thing that frustrates me, I just don't get is to Coach's point, right? Like
Mm,
if these Scotty fans are coming out here and talking about, oh, he's this and he's that, and fine, if you believe that, you should feel insulted that people are asking for Brandon Ingram trades.
Yes, this is my point. I'm like, if Scotty's that good, we don't need Brandon Ingram. Not right now.
Not right now.
You need to you make sure, like, Scotty, show what Scotty can do on the world stage. Get him that 35% boost from an All NBA, right? And then go get Brandon Ingram and say, Brandon Ingram, sorry, you got to match up with this guy.
Even though,
But that would exceed my
I'm just saying
expectations.
from yeah.
If he's an All NBA player this year, he would not far surpass, but he would surpass my expectations of him
He'd
this year.
surpass mine too, because I'm not expecting him to. That's a huge leap. That's a much bigger leap than what people are.
Leap.
Yeah.
But even being an all-star this year, and I'm not like, there's going to be Banchero, there's going to be Giannis, there's going to be Tatum, there's going to be Jaylen Brown. Like
It's
Randall.
positionless too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned those guys because those guys are going to be on good teams this year,
Right,
and that matters when it comes to all-star stuff.
I think, as Kenyon and I mentioned just the other day, there's going to be a guy from Indiana be back in the running since.
Siakam too.
There's potentially two, because one of those because there's another guy in Indiana that's on a contract here too.
True.
Yeah.
I don't see him making that leap just yet.
No,
I would love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. But
Oh no, I'm not talking about Mathurin. I'm talking about Turner.
Oh yeah, I think. Oh yeah. Oh Mathurin. Okay, Turner. Yeah.
Because Turner's even last year they were talking like maybe Turner. He was playing really well around that time. So
the only reason why Turner was doing that in this case here is they're looking at if they're going to get a second pacer because Siakam just showed up 5 days earlier.
And also it was like literally.
It's like we all ruffle
in Indiana.
Yeah, they didn't want to ruffle feathers. It's like, the new guy's not going to show up and all of a sudden he can be an all-star. So I got the rationale for the political standpoint, but like this year that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So I think if like I'm putting expectations, I didn't even want to talk about this yet, but like if I'm putting expectations, like if you're looking on the high side, it's that he establishes himself as a definitive all-star, like at least as a reserve.
But the bigger question is not necessarily about Scotty. It's more about what
I agree.
Last year of like, why is this coach always playing against people's strengths?
Yeah. So to focus more in on the topic at hand, which is not really Scotty, even though it kind of went into that, I agree. That is the question. I don't know why. I don't know if this is just like we're trying to experiment. I don't know if it's that I feel like this is just he believes that he can coach in a particular way, and this is the way, and it's a fit in or fit out type of situation, and then he is a little bit flexible because Dennis Schroeder mentioned this, right? Dennis Schroeder basically said that he is David Blatt. I said it. I got cussed out. Then Dennis said it like literally a week later. He's like, but he's not quite like Blatt, which means that essentially, yeah. For people that don't remember or who are watching the NBA, then some people think that they know everything about the NBA because they watched one team. I suggest going back in NBA history and watch other teams. Blatt was basically saying, all right, the clock's winding down. We're going to run a pick and roll for Kevin Love over LeBron James. There's a reason why that didn't work out long term.
Yeah.
Right. But what I would love to hear going into training camp, and unfortunately, I heard it from two people I did not expect Darko to say this about, was Poeltl and Precious last year. I would love for him to come in and say, you know what, this year, Scotty's the offensive hub.
Yes.
We're going to run 70% of our offense through him. And I trust that because you've invested in him to be a number one option to find out what he is. And quite frankly, I trust his instincts and his abilities over the other two, obviously.
But this is what I don't get. Like literally, we had a damn open gym where the president of basketball operations said when he's on the phone there, roll quickly. Can't wait for you and Sky to get together.
Every single commentator out there was like, "This is gonna work." Some people thought it was gonna work with like 3 guys, but this is at least going to work with Quickly and Scotty. This was a Scotty move, right? And everyone was thinking there's going to be pick and roll with him and that, and him and Grady, and all, didn't see it.
You know what the joke was? For the 5-6 games I saw
it was Poeltl.
Siakam, I saw more pick and roll with him and Siakam than they do with Scotty Barnes.
Yes, I did actually see that.
Like, what are we doing here? This is supposed to be the future. That's what you're selling us. And yet somehow I'm not getting the prizes in the Cracker Jack box when it's all said and done.
So that's what I would like to see again. Like, you know, like I'm advocating uplifts. I thought last year that Scotty Barnes would be the hub of the offense, and you'd run more DHOs with him or pick and roll with him. If Scotty doesn't like it, I don't know if he does, but like, you know, then hey man, you got it. Then you have to sell him on this is how you're going to feast.
Well, let me put it this way too. I was advocating for this last year. I said we had this two-headed monster with two-way versatility in
Mm.
Siakam and Scotty, and you screwed that up
Yeah,
as a
that's true.
coach.
Yeah.
They messed that up by
I think we only really
trying to
saw
run
it in
offense through
the
Poeltl
Lakers
and
game.
Precious.
Yeah.
If I was running that team, I'd be saying, you know what, 100%. Like we're gonna dedicate 80% of our offense to Siakam and Scotty making the decisions.
Right. But yeah, but this year I think it's going to be a little bit different. So I guess just to cap off this part, like, do you think it's going to be more? How much of a percentage do you think Barnes runs it? Because in some ways you are hampered offensively because you do need to involve Poeltl because he doesn't have the game enough. I know someone was hyping that he's shooting threes and stuff, but don't
Honestly,
hold your breath.
Yeah, I honestly think at the high end, 30% of this offense runs through Scotty.
And do you think that that's like because this isn't usage per se, so people, yeah, but like, do
Yeah,
you think
it's not
that
usage,
is that how much it should be?
No,
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 Up or down?
up.
up.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is we're going to sit down here about 3 months from now and watching dead possessions with Poeltl running pick and rolls with some guard like Davion Mitchell or something like that, and we're going to be sitting there like,
Oh man, that would be nasty work.
trust me, as I sit here on this couch, you're going to sit there and sit like, what are we doing, right? We're going to have Gradey going back to where he was before, sitting in a corner, right?
Yeah,
Guy's a motion dude, and he's sitting in the corner, shooting, just waiting for a kick out.
yeah, because they need to like what Pirtle's good at. And what they should be doing is they should be running things like the hammer play. They haven't run that since Nurse was gone. And they should run where basically there's an off-ball screen with Poeltl and with Gradey coming off a screen, catching the ball and shooting in the corner where he's running into the corner off of a Poeltl.
Off a rebound. If Scotty Barnes is a rebound, I don't know why Poeltl can't set a pick around 30, 35 feet.
Yeah.
And just go downhill.
Yeah, high pick and roll.
Like,
and then,
I mean,
yeah.
That used to be something a staple, at least with Nick Nurse. If Siakam got the ball, is like,
so yeah, I mean, that's I think what we want to kind of move towards. We'll see. There's a chance. That's not me, coming down too hard or anything like that. But that's what we should be seeing, I think.
We should be, but we'll see. I mean, as I said before, I find that this coach tends to go counter to what maybe most people think are logical decisions.
Yeah, convention.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, eventually you're going to have to see if you guys know this from playoff teams, even that we had in the past. You have to play some ISO basketball, especially in the playoffs. You have to do it.
That was the other part of the article.
That's the thing.
I left
run.
That.
Oh, you're holding back on us here, Ken.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead,
you're
Coach.
holding back on that.
No. Go for it, Coach. Go for it, Coach.
Proceed, Governor. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I thought I heard this year, maybe at the end of the year, about they were looking to run more ISO the following year, this year coming. Yeah, it might be a good idea to run sometimes. You want to get in the playoffs, you can't just rely on your half-court offense or your transition offense. It doesn't work that way. Not in the playoffs.
But
Teams
that takes reps. That's the thing is that what they need to do, to what you just said, they need to work on the ISO. They need to work on, like, essentially they need to decrease their shot quality. For people that talk like that. And that's okay. Because there's gonna come a time when you need to do that, and you need to run those plays with a really high degree of efficiency and execution. And that sometimes can take multiple years to get down, especially with the chemistry factor as well.
So to your point, I guess we need to put a bow on this. There's been no team in NBA history to what you just said, that ran their offense to the maximum effect of what they're play calling, better than the Utah Jazz during the Jerry Sloan days.
Yeah.
How many championships they got up there in that building up in Salt Lake City?
This.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right. Because when it got
And no offense to our players, but we don't have Stockton and Malone.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Or Jerry Sloan
shooting threes right? Like that's what I'm saying. They had every piece that maximized every part of their game. A great rebounder, a great 3-point shooter. To your point, one of the best point guards to distribute the ball we ever seen. A power forward, in this case, maybe one of the 2 or 3 best power forwards ever.
Even if you think that like Scotty's going to be there, and like this year in one season, that's tough. That's a big ask for a lot of, not just him, but the whole team. Like you need everyone to step the heck up to get to that level.
Like when you have that, your system can only help.
Like we're talking about like a team that like, at least, made it to the finals against Michael Jordan, right? Like it's twice, yes.
Twice, and still can't get it done. Because when it got late in those games, and they needed a bucket.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the bow on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
Right? They're running the pick and roll, and everyone scouted them from Kingdom Come and couldn't get a clean shot off. And we know what the other side had, and we'll just leave it at that.
So, we have enough time to talk about Angel Reese really quickly. I just want to, I made a tweet about this. I think it's important. So the WNBA season is kind of rolling along. It's coming to its end soon-ish. By the end of September, they're going to enter into, I think, their playoffs is around then, going into October, just as the NBA training camps are kind of spurring up. And I just want to say a couple things. This is no shade at any other rookie, because there are, Caitlin Clark has done a phenomenal job as well. I just want to focus on Reese right now because her season's done. She is done her season because she had a wrist injury, and so she will be done. She has had a historic season and deserves a lot of praise for it. And it's just unfortunate to see any athlete, come in, live their dream, and have it cut short even for a bit. And it's really unfortunate. And I think she deserves a ton of praise for improving her game throughout the season, but also coming in and being a rebounding beast. And she has a lot. I mean, her transition game, her floor game, she's going to be a phenomenal player, and she is a phenomenal player already. So I will leave it at that. I don't know if you guys have any things that you want to say. Again, it's not shade. Anyone who wants to make this a Clark versus, no, it's not that. One's still playing. So I'll talk about her another day. But yeah, I don't think that her season, which has broken records, gets enough shine. Beyond, your thoughts?
No, I think this is one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is that maybe, in this case here, the person that's playing in the same thing as her might have a bit better of a rookie season and probably rookie of the year. But if you just look at the rookie of the years over the years, it's like her season, Candace Parker's, and Caitlin Clark. That's the group.
Yeah.
That's how dominant of a rookie she's been. For a team, quite honestly, I mean, I know they won, I think it's tonight, or I think it was when they blew someone. I think they blew up someone. I can't remember who they played, but that team is not that talented of a team.
No. Some of I forget I'm not good with all the names of the players yet, but there was that one girl that they got up that was basically the equivalent of like Patrick Beverly. She can play. She can play. Hey, Pat Bev could play. But I'm just saying, Carter,
they're fortunate they have Kennedy Carter, because if they have Kennedy Carter, they don't know what this team would look like. The rest of the guard play, I'll just leave it at that. It's a sight for sore. It ain't pretty. Let's put it that way. And the bench ain't saying much either. So I think she must have played about 30, 35 minutes a night in this case. A lot of times on her minutes, her defensive numbers and splits were ridiculous when she was on and off the court.
Yeah.
And so those are the type of things that don't get a lot of shine and stuff like that. The rebounding is ridiculous. I think she might end up leading the league in rebounding when it's all said and done this year, depending on what happens with Wilson. Which is crazy. The fact that she's broken, I think, the most rebounds in the season in one
Yep.
season already, I think. And the double record was sitting there for her right there. The surpassed. I think it was Tina Charles.
Like for
Uh,
those who were mad that that Reese was getting some sort of shine in the Rookie of the Year talk because they were like it's Clark's to run away with it. Keep in mind what we're saying. This other woman broke records.
I'm using names like Candace Parker and Tina Charles.
Like so
Right? Like this is the names I'm bringing up, folks.
yeah.
Like as I said before, I said to you offline, I think Clark should win Rookie of the Year.
Hmm.
I hope in this case here that Reese gets a few first place votes to kind of show merit to what you just discussed of the type of season she's
That's
had.
all. That's all.
Yeah, incredible season. I don't think it's crazy in this case before the All Star break. It was really a coin flip in my mind.
It was. It
You
was.
know,
It was a lot
you
closer,
know,
and then
Clark
since the
after
All
break,
Star break and the Olympics, she's had some time to kind of like get some rest and get her wind, and
right,
also to be fair, her teammates have also played a lot better too.
right, yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, right? Indiana's team, if you look at paper, is just a much more talented team.
Yes, yeah, it
They've been
is.
so bad for so long. You should collect that much talent. You should be that good. You should have
It's
talent.
like
It's just
OKC.
exactly. So I mean, credit due where credit
Mm,
where it is. I think it's been a great year for the league. And a lot of people are sour this and sour about that. It's like, no, man. So sorry, Charles Barkley. It's been a fantastic. It's been a fantastic season. I can't wait for the playoffs. You know, there's a reason why that guy's not gonna be around in a year's time. But anyhow, I'll leave that alone for another day.
that,
Oh,
it's another episode on Basketball Rewind.
yeah.
Okay, so with that said, Coach, do you have any final words? If not, we are going to. If you guys think we have the time, we will talk about the conferences.
Do it.
It is not easy to average 13 and 13 in a season, especially the 13 rebounds. Do that every single night when you're battling against people and you're trying to get position on the boards and box out and be physical. Do that every night. It's tough. What she's done this year broke the single season record for offensive rebounds, became the fastest player in WNBA history to record 20 double doubles, and racked up the most consecutive double doubles, 15 in league history. 26 double doubles on the season, becoming just one of two players in the league history to do so. Unbelievable season from Angel Reese. She is going to be one of certainly the pillars of the league moving forward, along with Caitlin Clark. And I know they're certainly um, Asia Wilson, I know she's it right now, but certainly I think with
Yes.
Reese and Clark, I mentioned Clark. I'm only mentioning it in this. Yes, obviously she's very, very good. It's the narrative I'm talking about with Reese and Clark. And I just think that they're going to be there like Bird and Magic in the 80s and stuff like that. I just think that's going to be a selling point to a degree, but Reese is a phenomenal player
Like with
and
all that
she's got a
sort of
bright future.
USC might have the MJ of the bunch.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna end it all
You're
off by
fine.
saying Juju's watching, and I was watching some highlights of Juju again, and like it's just man that
Toronto 2026.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Oh, go Reese.
Because like she has some bounce to her game, and like people think like I'm telling you that league's gonna be put on notice real quick when she gets
Well,
in
I saw her talking to her buddy.
51 point game at USC. Oh my goodness!
I
But
saw her buddy talking to her on a podcast the other day, Flage, who I agree with.
yes, I was watching that actually earlier.
Please stay in school for 1 year because that means you'll be that same draft too. Please.
Yes.
I'll say something bold. I'm just saying my own opinion. She's probably the most talented I've seen in all that I have seen. I know there's been like Cheryl Miller and stuff come through in college. I get
Yeah,
that, but just from my own eyes, Juju Watkins, the best talent I've probably seen in college
yeah.
before.
She has fun when she plays too. Oh man, she
Hmm.
has fun. Um, anyways, to shift the things over, Central Division and the Northwest Division. I'll give you guys the honors. Who do you want? Do you want to go East or West?
I think we did West the other day. Let's go East.
All right, East it is. Okay, we're gonna go bottom up this time. Start with Detroit.
Love my
Beloved
team.
Pistons.
You love my team. Detroit is going to surprise a lot of people this year, man. I keep saying,
You are damn right they're
yeah.
gonna.
So
That-
Detroit's interesting in this division. You look at, I'll just name all of the teams first, and then we'll come back to Detroit. So you have the Bucks, Cavs, Pacers, Bulls, and Detroit. And that's that's the exact order it was last year. I think that Detroit might, depending on what happens with the Bulls, they might switch places with the Bulls for sure. I don't know if they're gonna make the play in, but I do think that they're gonna play and end up winning a lot more games than they won last year. They're not gonna be winning 17 games. I have them around maybe even the 30 range, like low 30s. They got better. They have some wonky lineup stuff. We'll get to that in a second, but they got better. Tobias Harris is much better than what he's replacing last year with, like, what was it, like the broken down body of Bogdanovich, right? Who, like, is not even really playing and that sort of stuff. They do have some interesting lineup decisions because they got. Here's the real question: does the Thompson twin play with Holland at some point? Because that's going to be a wonky lineup decision.
I've been figuring out where he fit, where those two fit in. And I think Thompson's your sixth man right now.
They added someone else besides Tobias Harris, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did. Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik
Yeah,
Beasley.
Hardaway. So
right.
They got Hardaway off the bench. I think Thompson was part of that lineup.
So those are improvements. They basically got like a version of Gary Trent, if you will, for you Raptors fans. And then they added Tobias Harris. And Tobias Harris, yes, he's not like the best player, but like he's very consistent. He's very consistent. He is there, and he's like, as a regular season guy, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get around 20 points from him. It's like a 20, like 5 and 5.
I think something else you have to talk about in this case, especially when it comes to Harris, is that he's healthy.
In general, yeah.
And that's the thing.
It's still, to this day, every single conversation we've had, whether here or on Space, it's always been underrated.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that is sometimes people don't realize how much that can help for just wins, having just healthy bodies.
Being there.
Yeah.
Like
knowing what you're going to get every night.
Mikal Bridges was so valuable because he plays 81 games and hasn't missed a game since, like, high school.
Right. And I'm sure a coach could speak that as a coach, man. It's just knowing that you have to go with every night. You actually design your game plan around that. You don't have to worry about, well, tonight, X and Y not playing tonight. And that was the problem with Detroit. Big more than anything else. You don't know when Cade's playing. And then when Cade is playing, Ivy's hurt. And then if Ivy, both them are healthy, well, then the Thompson kid got hurt. And then it's like, okay, who else we got here? It's like, okay, Durant, and he even started his rookie season. He wasn't playing at first.
Sometimes even Beef Stew.
Yeah.
He was in and out at times too. So
never healthy. So, like, the bench right now, you're looking at is Hardaway, Thompson, Sasser. Can't remember who else I'm missing from the front.
Do they start
Stewart?
Yeah. Do they? I was going to ask. Do they start Stewart or do they start Durant?
I think
they start Durant.
They start Durant. Yeah. Okay.
Question is, do you play with one big and four out? That's the question, right? Like, for example, is Harris going to play your power forward spot essentially? So you can get one.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's probably what they're going to look at. So there might be a bit smallish compared to some of the Detroit teams previously. Yeah. But I'd rather be small and effective than being big and can't do a damn thing.
But they're small and athletic, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I like Detroit's team. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Go ahead, Cole.
I like the moves. Trajan Langdon. I know he's the new GM there. I think he's done a pretty good job at putting his stamp on this team. Drafting Ron Holland. Holland, we all know in the draft, he was falling. We had talked to some people, so he might fall to late 20s. Detroit took him at 5.
They also have a new coach.
New coach, Bickerstaff. He's a good coach.
He's not a bad coach. I thought he should have stayed with Cleveland. I thought he got fired a little prematurely.
I did too. But I think Thompson will start and Holland will come in off the bench. They're going to do something with those two. They're too similar. I don't even know which one long term might be better because Thompson, he's an alpha. He gets after it. And I think Holland has that too. So they're going to figure out what they're going to do with those two moving forward. Because Cade and Jaden Ivey are your backcourt. probably.
You see, that's the assumption you're making. You
So
see,
I
I
think
know.
ideally if one of those guys can pop in terms of their shooting, they might get inserted into that lineup.
I think one of those two backcourt guys, and I think it's going to be Ivy, that's the man to be watching if he's going to be around the Pistons.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I like
Especially the way that they just invested in Cade and stuff like that. I think
exactly.
that spells like they're using Ivy as bait
Yeah,
for another move.
yeah.
This potentially this season if they're flying moderately high and they have a chance to make the play-in because it's been so long for Detroit, why
Well,
not?
it's no secret that him and Monty Williams did not click.
That too.
Yeah.
But it's tough because he's from there. He's a hometown kid and was treated bad. That kind of stuff doesn't always play well too.
Beyond, you're a resident Pistons fan. Are they, where do you have them next year roughly in the conference?
um, I'm with Kenya. I kind of think they're going to be in that low 30s and kind of on the outside, maybe in that 10 spot, looking at the play-in.
Yeah,
Like,
10,
which is
11.
which is that spot that Atlanta and Chicago usually have. I think
Yeah.
they're going to be in the mix there because I think Chicago's going to take a fall back.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so yeah, I think so. I think they're one of those teams. If they could get off to a half decent start, it's like okay, now we'll watch out, right? If you take like last year's Houston got off to a decent start last year, and even though they had some lulls in the middle of the season, they picked back up late in the season. And they were hovering around that 10 spot, trying to fight for it at the end of the season.
I mean, I think that's a good place to actually segue into talking about Chicago, to be honest.
Shy down, what's going on?
And so Chicago made some moves. They got Giddy. Giddy with Giddy. And they got rid of Caruso. They have one of the guys that I really liked in this draft, which was Matas, who I'm excited for. And they're getting a couple returns of players who have been out. And that's going to be very interesting. Because how this plays out is going to be really, really fascinating. Zach LaVine is going to be playing.
Oh,
They have
man.
said that even though they trashed him all season and all off season, that they basically have to play him to rehab his value. And right now, based on he's a really expensive. I'm not saying that he is like Bruce Brown, but in terms of the contractual challenges of bringing on a
Mhm.
guy of that nature, right? And even yes, coach, you pay down the salary, but you're paying down everyone else's salary. So you got to come up and you got to find enough salary to get there. And I also think you're potentially paying the tax for this dude because his salary isn't cheap and it ain't going anywhere fast. So he might be there for the whole season, and I think he will be potentially. However, there's another guy that's coming back too, which is Lonzo Ball. And when
Mhm.
Lonzo plays, that team clicks. He hasn't played a lot of games for Chicago, but when he was playing, they were one of the best three teams in the East last time I checked. That was a long time ago, but yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens if they can get Lonzo Ball on the court, and I think they will, even if it means so that they can make a trade later. Those guys might play, and when they are playing, they might be an interesting team. Because I don't
Uh,
think Billy Donovan's trying to lose.
are we at the point now that we assume that Lonzo Ball, if he comes back and plays, he's a bench player?
Even off the bench, I think that he's a value add.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying like where he fits in the rotation.
I have no idea. I have no idea because they have a lot of like things that they need to figure out, and that dude's been like literally on the sidelines for a couple years. It's gonna be like Danny Granger coming back.
Yeah, but he
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, but he can't be starting over Kobe White.
No,
Right.
No.
That's my point. So like he had to be sitting down there playing coming off the bench. And don't get me wrong, I like Lonzo's game overall. He can shoot the three. He's a fantastic passer. I love a big guard can play defense like that. But
Mhm.
he's a 10-minute man right now at best.
that's probably for the safest thing. I think if they can get 10, 15 minutes off the bench from him, and he's truly healthy, that's better than a lot of people's point guards coming off the bench. To be honest,
They have a log jam though with the guard position. Kobe
yes,
White, Lonzo, Giddy, Javon Carter, THT.
yep.
Just
Oh, they
move.
picked up THT?
Yeah. They got a
Oh,
lot of guards right now. And Levine, obviously, with him there, he's going to play as well as he
I'll
get it
give a
up his
quick
trade
shout out to
value.
ASG. ASG is always talking about THT coming on this team.
Yeah, but to your point though, coach, like if Lonzo was actually healthy, if everything went perfectly, he's like back to health.
Yep.
Their ideal lineup actually is Lonzo Ball and White.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
is
I think you could do it too because assuming Lonzo is able to be Lonzo that he was, who's a pretty good defender,
Yep.
you can play both of them because
right.
Lonzo's 6'7".
Yeah, Lonzo
Yes.
six. Well, yeah, he's like 6'5", 6'6". But the thing is, he could take over the Caruso role essentially.
That's
Yeah,
exactly how I see it. But the challenge is again, how does Levine fit into all this too?
Well, Levine, I mean, they played Levine at three at times in Chicago.
They have.
You
They
know,
have. He's a little undersized at three,
yeah.
but you
and then
can
you
get
get
away with
Giddy
it.
in the mix there too. Where do you play? Like,
In theory, Giddy should be the three.
Yes.
I think he's too small for. Well, I don't mean height wise. I know he's 6'7", 6'8", but I think he's probably gonna have to play more guard for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like,
So
Or he
I,
did in OKC anyway, next to
it's
Shea.
it's an interesting conundrum that they have.
mm,
They get
So
a mismatch of stuff, quite
yeah.
honestly, that doesn't really make a ton of sense.
But yeah, I think my point is that there's going to be a period of the season where they might be better than they might look better than they actually are, or that than they're actually trying to be.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know what they're trying to be because their pick is protected and it's not fully owned by them. So they're another team where it's like they might just keep it together so that they can convey their pick to everyone's favorite team, San Antonio. Yeah, get rid of that and then they own their future. Good
San
old San Antonio.
Everybody building the Spurs dynasty right now. The Raptors, the Bulls. Who else we got building
Atlanta.
the Atlanta, building
Atlanta
Spurs
can't tank.
dynasty.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. Any final thoughts on Chicago before we move to the Pacers?
Let's get the fun teams.
Okay, Pacers. So we could actually talk about I think Pacers and Cleveland are actually here's the question. Of the final three teams, who do you have taking the division, I should say?
Honestly, I think it's Indiana.
Okay, coach.
Who are the other three teams? Sorry, it
So
was
it's
Indiana.
Indiana, Cleveland, Bucks.
I'm gonna go with Indiana too, actually.
Okay. I'm
Depth.
gonna zag. I'm gonna go with Cleveland. Um,
No one picked Milwaukee.
No
Interesting.
one picks.
no one picks Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is gonna be interesting. It's not a diss against Giannis. Giannis is one of my favorite players, but I think the challenge with Giannis this year and the challenge with Milwaukee is even with Gary Trent, they are an aging team, and they need to get
Yep.
their goal is beyond the regular season.
Mm.
They need to make the playoffs. They need to make the playoffs healthy, and they need to go in with confidence. And
Is
that's,
Milwaukee the type of team that can play as a four seed and win and get to a championship? I never seen Milwaukee as that type of team.
I don't think that they are, but I think that they're going to try to coast it to it.
Hmm.
Like, that's
I don't
just like
trust their defense now.
that, too. Gary is an upgrade over Malik Beasley, but they still, the challenges are what the challenges are.
But
No,
Middleton hurt. Giannis is the one I'm actually concerned about this year. What I saw in the
well,
Olympics,
also Brooke
he was hurt.
Lopez.
Brook Lopez, Dame's 35 or 34.
This is an
He's got
old
an
team, man.
I'll be
injury
Portis no
history.
spring chicken either. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think that they can go full tilt and try to go for like the number one seed or number two seed and like be healthy. That's why I'm like, they might try to like do well enough to try to sneak in as a third seed. I don't think that they're good enough to be a third seed, but like, yeah,
If Rick Carlisle can spend 5% more on his practice and playing defense, Indiana will get the first seed.
If Rick
yep,
Carlisle fans up in this case a 2 minute offense, we'd be okay.
yeah. It, so yeah, I agree with you guys, but I'll go with Cleveland either way. I think Cleveland will have a chance.
Yeah, no, they will.
They have the depth and they play defense.
I'm not sold on their personnel, man.
Um,
I'm
do you like
sorry.
do you like their coach?
Oh, I like the coach, but I don't know. He can make like if he can turn Mobley into a monster, then we got something we're cooking with.
I'll tell you who's going to have a good year. Karis LeVert. He played under the coach.
I know, but Karis LeVert's one of them guys. He can get his offense no matter what the coach is. No
True.
matter.
That is true. That's true.
Kenny Atkinson, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah. He coached him in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
actually,
Allen.
that was the last time that the Raptors definitively made the playoffs.
Last time I checked, wasn't another guy that's on that team that played for him too?
Garrett Allen.
Bingo.
True.
Yeah. So, and you have
It's going to be fun times ahead, man.
yeah. So I don't know where that puts Mobley as far as the pecking order thing, which has always been the issue in Cleveland. I don't know, man. I think that team is on that team could go either way.
Yeah. They could combust or things could work out really well. But I think that it's Donovan Mitchell's team definitively now. And
Oh yeah.
I think that the Cavs fans have now realized what we were trying to hint at.
You think?
A little too late, but that's okay.
That Spurs thread continues, right?
Yes. I think that there's still a move there that exists long term. Because no offense to Chris Paul, to shift to the Spurs just briefly, but I don't think he's long for the league at his advanced stage.
No.
So I think it's more of an elder statesman type thing. Hopefully, he has the best seasons that he can. But yeah, so I think let's just talk about Indiana. I think they are. I mean, they didn't add a lot in the draft, but they are adding someone who's really healthy that I wish was on Team Canada back in the lineup. And that guy, when he is cutting, he will be found, and he can catch, and he has moxie. That's Ben Mathurin. Ben Mathurin came into the league and he said, "LeBron who?" and went at him. And he gave him the business as best as he could as a rookie. LeBron's LeBron, but hey, he did try. I want to see this kid play with Hallie and with everyone healthy and Nemhard. It's going to be a very fun team. To Coach's point, if they play 10% more defense.
Yeah. But at some point, though, the thing is he going to start at some point?
Maybe. The challenge is that so what is their starting lineup? It's Hallie. It should be Hallie, Mathurin.
But it's Neesmith. Right?
No.
It should be Hallie, Mathurin, Neesmith. Siakam, Turner.
Yeah.
Right?
Mathurin's 6'5". He should be playing the 3. He's a 2 guard, in my opinion.
But Neesmith is about the same height.
Yeah. More physical though. He's a bigger frame.
So you're saying Neesmith is the 3?
He can get away with it though with Siakam and Turner, and especially Turner.
Exactly.
I think he can get away with those two.
So So then that's the lineup.
Halliburton 6'4".
Unless they put Nemhard in the starting lineup. I don't know if I would do that. I think it's better to have Nemhard off the bench running his own unit.
Yeah, he needs to learn how to run a unit.
Yeah, and that's a lower
threshold.
Yeah, to basically do it successfully because you're doing it against bench players, and he could still get his 25 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. And they added Samson's man, James Wiseman, to the team this year.
Yes. I forgot about him. Yes, so they did.
Not
they
a
did
bad
add
pickup
Wiseman
though to back up Turner.
It's a good gamble too. You see what he
they
has.
Lost Jalen Smith, but they still have Isaiah Jackson, Jarace Walker.
In the rotation this year.
That's a good question.
Toppin's still there.
He's looking like he's working on it with Siakam.
I don't know when he finds minutes because as Coach has said, right, you're gonna have Siakam and Toppin playing those spots at the 4. If you're at the 3, unless he can defend well enough, that's the only reason why I'll put him out there. But why would I justify him being out there for the 3 if I have Neesmith out there and I can play either Toppin at the 3 if I want?
I think I know what they want to do. I don't know if you'll like it, but I think I know what they want to do.
No, don't say it.
They want to make a move.
Eh,
They're probably going to use a combination of Mathurin and Neesmith to do it, using Jerace Walker as the step in for Neesmith. And they probably want to go for Brandon Ingram. That's my guess. This is what I've also heard.
ew.
Whether or not that's a good idea or not,
Why?
discussion for another day. But this is what I've heard that they
Oh,
want.
you probably should jump to the Northwest then, man. That's leaving a bad taste in my mouth.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I agree with Beyond. I don't know
I'm not
why,
saying
but
that, I'm not saying I want them to
yeah,
do it.
it
I'm just
but it wouldn't
saying,
shock
yeah,
me. Because eventually, if you're not making the steps that you need to, or the win-loss records being affected,
yes,
GMs get a little
a little
stir
antsy.
crazy, a little antsy. Yeah.
I what I think they should do, I think that they should do what I said, which is play Mathurin and see what you have in him and put him in the starting lineup and elevate his game. And I think his game will automatically be elevated anyways. And just the only thing with Mathurin is he needs to become a much better heady defender. And that is that he should be. He should be much better at that. But we'll see. This is going to be interesting. Um, Cavs and Bucks we kind of discussed the Bucks already, so we can kind of skip them. Cavs are kind of the only thing. We kind of talked about them too. So we can kind of skip to the next thing. Just because I talked about his teammate, quick Raptors aside, apparently Koloko, according to Doug Smith's article, he don't want to be here. So I'll just scoot past that. And
Got that bomb on there. Okay,
yeah,
look,
well,
that offline.
next, yeah, we'll talk about that offline. Okay, so Northwest. OKC, Nuggets, who just paid someone a big salary. Minnesota, the Utah Jazz, and the Blazers. This is an interesting because I don't know between the Utah Jazz and the Blazers. I'm kind of interested to see what happens.
Can we
Who
get
ends up,
the
you know?
Vegas franchise in here quick so I get Portland back on the West Coast of the Pacific Division? Because that's throwing me off, man. Sorry.
Yes, that too. Um, yeah, I think that okay. Let's talk about the Jazz real quick. Do the Jazz, you know,
Oh,
they do they actually try to go for it, or do
no,
they?
no, this is Danny Ainge all the time, man.
Okay, so the Jazz are gonna like half be good, and then they're gonna purposefully tank.
They're
Okay.
gonna show a little leg, and they're gonna do it and tease everybody all the time, and nothing's gonna happen all
Yeah,
the time.
because even the way I know Spurs fans were so hyped on getting Lowry, Markkanen, and all that. I thought that Golden State had a chance. They didn't quite get it over the finish line, but I ultimately saw this and I said it and I tweeted at it. I tweeted at Spurs fans. I said this is a public negotiation to try to drive down Lauri Markkanen's price, and it didn't really work. But he ended up
Well,
paying him, and they might flip him later. Yeah.
I'm sure that they are intrigued by Cooper Flag. Just taking a guess.
Oh, he does fit the profile.
Uh,
Just saying.
um,
Shout out to Matt Barnes who talked about their fans. Uh,
yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, everybody should be interested in him. I can
he's a
imagine
Raptor.
Utah
He is a
being one of
Raptor.
those teams as well. I really need to get a Canadian flag in here. I don't know.
Yes. Fair enough. So we're done with that franchise because they're not serious yet.
not serious.
Portland's going to be interesting. If healthy, they got a lot of dudes that struggle with health. Like, does Robert Williams play 20 games? I don't know. Does Grant Williams play 30? I don't know.
I heard
What?
your man Zach Lowe talk to Poeltl the other day on his podcast saying he ain't sure your boy gonna start this year.
Oh, you mean Sharp?
No.
Oh, Scoot,
Oh. Hey, scoot, scoot,
Scoot.
scoot, scoot, scoot.
That's true. I think um
You better start there.
does okay, actually I don't want to be mean to him, so I won't. I was gonna talk about Aiton, but um Can Klingon show enough to make Ayton expendable? I'll put it. That's a nicer way to put it.
Yes.
Because
No.
I don't think that they really. I don't know if they want Ayton there long term,
Yeah.
based on the draft and based on Ayton not showing up when it snows.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So Ayton, you are there to stay, I guess, for now. Try to earn your third contract. Yeah, I think that they have enough talent to punch up, but they're in a tough division. That's just it.
Yeah, a lot of young talent, though. I will say, coming forward, Sharp, obviously, Scoot,
Yep.
Klingon. You know,
Well,
you still have
But look who
some
they're
like
playing more often than
Banton.
not. They're playing Ant, Jokic, Shea.
I grant you, but they got to play the rest of the Western Conference too. So like, it's like,
But those games are more. They might play most other teams 3 times. They play every single other team in their conference 4 times.
I think right now, I think you're Portland right now. You're just trying to get to a point. Like you're kind of like how Detroit is a little bit.
Right, you're just trying to definitively flip places with the person in front of you to
Exactly.
show that you're
Right.
taking a step forward, get
Exactly.
the fan
And you
base
want to see
excited.
what I think now that Sharp's gonna be healthy this year to get to see what you get with Sharp.
That's fair.
I think right now, this is the reason why I said we want to start with your boy because I don't know about you, but if a man gets picked number 2 overall in the draft or number 3 it was
Yeah,
like
you want to make a move and you want to show that you have something.
well, not only that, it's like
He did get better throughout the season.
I grant you, but I think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier in the show with Scotty. In this case, if he's going to be the guy, you don't want to be asking him trades for Brandon Ingram.
Well,
6
also
years.
to your point, they were trying to that is part of the reason why they were trying to trade Simons.
Yeah, right. But the fact that they haven't traded Simons yet,
Yeah,
it's almost like a bit of a security blanket, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Right, and that's more of a exactly that more shows on Scoot more than it does on Simons.
He
It's like-
does
Yeah.
because they would find a way if he was
Exactly.
all that, it'd be like, yo, sorry, we'll get what we can, but like this dude is the dude. When you have LeBron James, you'll make it work, or you'll try, or maybe you won't and you'll fail and he's gone.
Right. You move on in this case here. It's like, who was it in this case? Who was my man said that he thought he was going to fit? LeBron's going to fit in with them. Who was it? My man played in Charlotte. What is his name? But I can't remember. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's him and Darius Miles were on the Cleveland team at the time.
Oh,
I
right.
can't remember. He played for Charlotte, man. He's always a character. I thought that LeBron would fit in with them. It's like, okay, really?
No, it's the other way around,
But
dude.
if I'm the Portland staff and
Uh-huh.
I have these 2 guards under the age of like 21 on my team and Scoot and Jaden Sharp, I'm playing them. I'm betting on their talents to get to the next level. 'Cause you need one of those guys to take a big jump. To me, I'm being biased. I'm picking my bets on Sharp.
Yeah.
Going to that 25 point per
They,
game.
they also
you can
have Brogdon though too that they have to trade.
No,
No.
Brogdon trade to Washington. They got
Oh,
Avdia.
right.
Avdia is a good fit, I
Right.
think. Put him and Grant
Okay.
with Ayton or Klingon and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
some
I
nice-
forgot about
Simons
that. Was
is
a
the
good
one
move.
that has to go. He just
Yeah.
does.
Who? Simons?
Simons.
Yeah.
You'll find
Yeah.
Theory. But until Scoot could prove that he can actually play that position, Simons can't go anywhere yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big year for Scoot. Yeah, like Kenyon said, he did improve as the year went along. But the jump shot needs to get better. But I'd be willing just to bank on those 2 as a backcourt moving forward. So you got to play him. You got to find out.
So Nuggets and the Wolves are going to be playing a lot, and they recently played. How do you think that plays out? And of the 3, do we see OKC as the number 1 in this division? I do. I'm just going to say it
Yep.
flat out. Okay. You don't.
No.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I think Minnesota's going to be the number 1 in this division. I think Minnesota's defense travels everywhere.
It does, but
And-
OKC did more to address their challenges.
To some extent, but not all of it. Not all of it. And I think one of the things that you saw last year with OKC, there's man, when it comes to playoff time, man, I don't know what else to say in this case here, man. It's like it's in your gut. And OKC's got a bit of a softness about them.
They do.
I'm not sold on just yet.
I mean, Hartenstein, like, he helps them out a lot.
He does. I
Caruso
love
does
you know
too.
me. I
And
love Harden.
so, do you think like, because I told you Chet was real. So
No,
the
I
question
agree.
is can Chet step up and be that third guy offensively? Because I think Jalen Williams will be fine. I hear what you're saying, but like hands down, Shea was the best player in the Western Conference last year in those playoffs secretly. Like if you look at the numbers, he was the best dude.
I agree with that. And I'm not saying that he's not going to do his thing, but I guess if I'm looking for Minnesota, I don't think in this case, I think Ant-Man can play at that level with him if they're playing any series. My question is who else is coming along for the ride? Because when it's all said and done, if they want to get to where they have to go, Chet can't be a third option.
You're right. He's
Yeah,
got to be
no.
number two.
He's got to be
Yes.
number two,
Yeah.
where he's a factor, where people are now rotating their defense from him to help Shea out.
Well, he was working with KD.
And everyone, well, fair enough, but so I see it on the court. Like, everyone can
True.
kill all they want. Cat is still a factor when he's on the floor. We saw
Yeah, he
game
is. He is.
against Denver, right? And even some of those games, later.
Like the challenge with Minnesota is that as much as those two guys work together, the Twin Towers, they work together, and yet they're still kind of flawed, both in different
Sure.
ways. And like that's the one thing is that they're flawed.
Yeah, but like Chet in this case here is flawed in his own right.
He is. He
Because
is.
he's getting flogged around in this case by the second series. Poor Chet, that like, you can ring him out on the road by the time he's playing Dallas. All right,
True.
he didn't get the conference finals yet. The
True.
deal with the monsters. Okay, like he played Dallas, no respect. My boy Lively and them, but I ain't the heavyweight division. That's like when you're playing Mike Tyson Punch Out and you get to the big boss yet. You didn't even get there yet.
Yeah.
Good game, by
I
the
do
way.
find it interesting, though. I think the two best teams are in that division. We just mentioned them. I think OKC's number one and Minnesota's number two
So I guess
in the
everyone
West
has
this year.
Denver taking a step back.
I
in
do.
that division.
First taking a step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Dow's like to have a word with you about that. In this case, here I'll just say that, coach.
I was-
Okay?
Who's that?
Mike Dow's like to have a word with you about that comment.
Right.
Oh, about Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying that Dallas is going to
Right.
step up, but Luka has to learn how to play defense. So
Fair enough.
I'm just more sold on OKC and Minnesota. I get it. One of them went to the NBA Finals last year, but just some of the moves that OKC
Okay,
making,
OKC
Hartenstein,
had their number,
Caruso.
man. OKC had that. I'm so. Anyways, that's a whole.
I just think Chet is going to make a substantial leap this year, and he has to. But I think he's
Yeah.
got the talent to do so.
Yeah, I got two closers, and I ain't seen anybody else got more than one.
Well, see, all I'm saying is people doubted Chet all year, right? They doubted, and he held his own defensively. He is a game changer, and if it put it this way, if it wasn't for another team having an alien, he would have probably won Rookie of
Let
the
me
Year.
put it to you this way. One of those two guys have to become a guy in this case that you have to actually rotate your defense on. If it's not Chet, it's got to be Williams. But
Yeah.
one of those two dudes,
And I think Chet has he'll have an opportunity.
yeah, that's all I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
it can't be just Shea and the Jackson Five. Yeah. It got to be someone got to come up to the line. We got to have at least a Jermaine in there singing a little bit, guy. Doing a duet with Michael. It just
Fair
can't be him
enough.
by himself.
Fair enough. On that note,
I'll say
we
this
sh-
too.
Oh yeah,
I'll say one more thing just about OKC.
yeah.
You're Sam Presti. You've done all this work to acquire picks. You've done well in drafting too. Um, Stop wasting Shea's prime.
Yep.
You get all the assets. Go make a move this year if you're serious about winning the title
Is it
and
Hartenstein the
maximizing
move,
his
though?
prime.
Is it
What's
Hartenstein the
that?
move? Is it Hartenstein the move?
He's a
He is
piece.
a move.
He's a piece.
I agree that they need to go for it. And
need to
this
go for
is
it.
the year.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
who they go for.
Well, I'm about to ask you, who's the go for? Like, I'm curious, who is this person out here? This mystery behind door number one. I'm curious.
Oh,
Who's
There's
I'll give
always
you
a
one
play.
person.
There's always a malcontent player on a decent team.
I'll give you one person if it doesn't work out where their situation is. KD.
Yeah, I know that. Everyone's been talking about that one.
I could see that. I can actually
You'd
now
have to give up J-Dub to get him.
Oh yeah,
you did. I mean, all respect. Yeah, it gives you a window, but
Does.
KD is still that level of dude. and the fact that he wouldn't have to carry it and he'd have a smooth operator, I it'd be one a heck of a team.
That is the one player I would give you that. That's
Yeah.
I'll give you a player. Probably won't happen because he'll
Mm.
be hurt. Boy, it'd be interesting if they took a look at Kawhi Leonard.
True. I don't think Kawhi's going anywhere though.
Why
I
I
don't think he is either.
boy?
yeah.
OKC ain't built for Kawhi. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. That
1 year, Kawhi. Give him 1 year.
No, man. That dude can barely stay 1 year in Toronto. You think he's doing it 1 year at OKC? Come on now.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
God forbid you go to a good team, have a chance to do multiple championships with them, right? Crazy
Paul
idea.
George would have been an interesting,
Yes,
that ship
he
has
would have
sailed
been.
now, but that would have been interesting.
At
Him
this point,
going back
you
to
bring back Westbrook. Any more OKC players you want to
Burbank and Melo to retire.
Harden? Since we're moving the LA, anybody
yes.
else?
Yeah. I mean, is there anyone that you can think of? Because I don't think Zach LaVine that's a
No.
bad move.
Durant,
No,
Durant, the only
no.
thing, man. Durant makes
It's
sense.
Durant. It's Durant. Yeah.
It ties up the nice bow for his legacy and stuff. He goes back to the place where he started. It's the only place.
That too. All right. I think that's a good place to end it. I know Coach is ahead of us in terms of time. So sorry, Coach. Basketball
No
Rewind
worries.
has been here. This is at this point it is after dark. People like, comment, and subscribe because we made it through a marathon just for you, and also because we enjoy talking about hoops. And so, again, Coach, thanks for soldiering through this. And hopefully people enjoy the episode. I thought it was a good episode. So yeah, take care and peace.
Peace.